Hi, welcome to the Shades of Motherhood Network. I am the Executive Director, Stephanie Courtney. I would like to thank you so much for coming to our online conference, Stronger Together, Community Care for Black Maternal Health. Hey, everybody, it's Stephanie with the Learning Project Network and the Shades of Motherhood Network. We have a very exciting conference coming up, and we want to invite you out to listen and learn all about not only just mental health, but Black maternal mental health. So many people are talking about how can we be a resource? How can we connect to Black women? And when we talk about Black women, we are all over the world, okay? And when we think about the types of cultural care that needs to be implemented, we think about communities, culture, peer support groups, counseling, just being in the hair shop, getting your hair done and getting so much good. So I would say that good feeling of words, inspiration, that thing that keeps you going. And we want to explore all of that and so much more. So we have here Sandra Igwe. Listen, she is all the way from the United Kingdom, okay? We are so excited and so honored to have her in our space. And we have one of her amazing books that she's going to be talking about. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me here.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you started in this work.
So, hi, everybody. I am Sandra Igwe. I am the founder of the Motherhood Group, which is a UK-based social enterprise that supports the Black maternal experience from preconception to your birthing experience, even down to perinatally as well and postnatally. But I'm also the author of My Black Motherhood, Mental Health, Racism, Stigma, and the System. And I do
Mm,
other stuff as well, just making sure ultimately that I work really hard to amplify the voices of Black women, Black mothers, Black birthing
hmm.
people, and share
I
the
love it.
truth. The truth about motherhood from all aspects, but also work towards bridging the gap really between the community of Black mothers and also the system, the wider system. So that may mean maternity services, healthcare services, employers, employees, and also the government as well. And so
Hmm.
what got me into this work was my birthing experience. So I really believe that lived experience is really important to drive change. And
Hmm.
also sharing our stories, sharing our experiences can really, help in providing context, but also help in bridging that gap. And so with my first daughter, I had a traumatic birth. And it happened with my second the following year and a half later. And
Hmm.
then see 8 years on now, I have had my third daughter and the same thing happens. And so when I speak about my experience and about the work that I do and also the campaigning that we do here in the UK, it
Hmm.
literally is because of lived experience, but because of the stories, the hundreds of stories that I've heard, um, but also how it also impacts our mental health. It's such a taboo and stigmatizing topic, and
Yeah.
I think it's really important to definitely show the joyous, blissful aspects of motherhood, but also to share the reality that many mothers face with mental health, such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. This is a question that I wasn't planning to ask, but I have to ask because so many people think that Black women are being treated better in certain areas. So, we talked a little bit about this where we were talking about the statistics around Black women and the Black maternal health crisis. Um, would you say there's a difference in being a Black woman in the US versus UK? Or do you feel like we have so many similar situations that are happening?
Well, obviously, I'm not an American. I've been to America several times to visit family and my cousins and aunties, but I'm not an American, Black American woman, or I haven't resided there. But based on just my social interactions, what I've seen online, what I've read, there are definitely many similarities, but there are also many differences
Yeah,
as well. I mean,
yeah.
just in the maternal mortality rates, maternal mental health rates between, the US and in the UK, Black women are disproportionately affected in both parts of the world. And in the UK, we are, as Black people, 13% more likely to have postnatal depression. And in the
Mm,
UK, we are the least likely to get support for that and also the least likely to get follow-up treatment.
yep.
And so am I right in saying that's similar to America that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sis, you hit that right on the head. Because when we're talking about maternal mental health, specifically with Black women, we're not getting the referrals, we're not getting the follow-ups, we're not getting any of the different services and resources that a white counterpart would get. Or even someone that maybe is from a different is white passing. And so we have to really have that strong conversation about why is this happening globally? Why is this happening all over? We know the historical pieces, especially in the US, with slavery, all the different things play a huge part in our medical system. And I'm pretty sure, in the UK, there's probably this abundance of history around Black people as well. And because we don't connect and we don't talk as much as we should about the crises that are happening in our spaces, it can be an isolating thing. It can really feel like this is just me against the world or against whatever's happening in my community. And you serve a lot of people. Okay. If you have not been to Sandra's Instagram, Facebook, all of it, you need to go. Okay. You just had a phenomenal event where we saw Black women coming together and just talking. Can you tell us a little bit about that event and what was that experience like for those Black women?
Thank you for that. Yeah, we just had a massive conference, Black Maternal Health Conference UK. We had about 450 mothers, Black mothers, but also
Love it.
healthcare practitioners, got government policy advisors, MPs, charity CEOs, and we all just came together really to listen and to share. But the conference was um, really pioneered by the Motherhood Group, my organization, to again bridge the conversation, to bridge the discussions that many Black women have amongst ourselves that we
Yep.
know the challenges, the issues, and the barriers, why we're not getting support across the lifespan of a mother's journey. And
Yeah.
really, it's to share our stories on a platform that we believe can provide solutions and recommendations, and also
Yes.
to contextualize like mothers, people's real experiences. We're so used to seeing the stats and the data and the numbers and the figures, but we're not really used to pairing that up with real people. So we
Mhm.
would educated that day, we were informed, but we also cried and we also laughed.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think is invaluable when it comes to working towards better outcomes for Black mothers.
Absolutely. There's something about coming together and being in space and sharing these sacred stories. And to have somebody believe you. Like it is just, so disheartening when you have to constantly try to get people to believe what you're going through. You're not crazy, you're not over the top, you're not being too much. You are in a space where you are vulnerable. You want people to hear you and listen to you. And one of the things that you have done so phenomenally is write and put this book together that you just talked to us about. You guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, when we start talking about this book, we will have a link down below. Click on the link, get the book. Let's dive in. So tell us about your book and what can readers find in
Yes, so our book, so saying our book, sorry, my book
it?
is called My Black Motherhood, Mental Racism and the Stigma, and it really speaks about the common themes of, Black women feeling too strong, being the notion that we can bear everything and hold the weight of
Yeah.
the world on our shoulders without asking for help, but also looking
Mm,
at the role that stigma plays itself when it comes to us not wanting the support, or when we do try and get support, we're not being met in the way that we deserve to be met.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it really shares the story of not just my experience of going through sleepless nights, anxiety, and feeling loneliness after the birth of my first daughter, but also the stories of other women, countless women sharing their experiences of, cultural expectations of
Yes.
needing to be, the good mother, to be a strong mother, but in reality, her mental health, you know, is a struggle. And that's what we really wanted to portray in the book. That, even though
Mm,
Black women are at a higher risk of developing postnatal depression and the
yeah.
least to be identified with as depressed, we really show that actually the lack of trust in services prevent women from getting the help that they need. And so it's mainly a book to help as a stepping stone to open
Yeah.
up the conversation on motherhood, on race, on mental health. And the book demands that Black women are listened to be
Mm.
believed, understood as well.
Yes, yes, yes. It is such a good read. We are going to be actually reading segments of it next week. You'll be seeing little things drop in our Instagram, our Facebook. It is really, really, it resonates with me right now because I'm pregnant. And
Oh,
yeah, yes, I am pregnant,
amazing.
y'all, if you do not know. And
Wow.
this pregnancy has been so difficult for me. We found out our little one has a lot of stuff going on and will need heart surgery. It's just so
Mm.
much. And we are over here on this side and we're talking about, girl, get a doula, get a support group, get this, get th-"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to be nowhere near support. I don't want help. I don't want nothing. And,
Yeah.
of course, we work with a huge community of doulas and everybody in our office is doulas. And
Oh,
so they are
wow.
literally doulaing me. And they're like, Stephanie, what's going on?
Oh
What
my God.
talk to us?
Yeah.
And I recognize that privilege of constant support and people trying
Yes.
to break through. But what if
Yes.
you don't have anyone and
That's
you're
the
going
thing.
through this, right?
Right.
You're
Right.
alone, you're at home, or we love putting on that strong black woman syndrome. Oh, I'm
Yes.
fine, I'm good, I'm happy, and then you're at work, you're performing great, you're doing all of this stuff. But inside, you are literally dying. You
That's the
are
problem.
just
That's it.
falling apart. And I feel like this book really helps bring words to people that just don't have the words for what they're going through. And sometimes just being able to read something or hear something, because you could also listen to it on audio, and being able to just listen to it while you're cooking and performing to be perfect, and then things are all falling apart. Y'all know how that goes. And then you hear that one thing and it makes you cry and you're like, why am I crying?
I,
It's all of that and more. It's something that we have to think about. Like, motherhood transforms and changes your life in leaps and bounds. And it's meant to be taking you through a transition, but it's not meant to be done alone. Um, and alone does not mean that you have to have physical people with you. There's so many ways that you can connect with people, but not getting any support, not getting any help while you're going through it, that's the problem.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is the
What
actual
part of the book
problem.
do you feel like is like the part that you're like, this part hit me in when I was writing this or when I collected this?
I think, I mean, all of it really, like all of it. I mean, but I guess one thing that I'm always speaking about is the notion of trying to break the silence. So
Mm,
I think a lot of women in our community haven't necessarily gotten used to opening up the conversation on the intersectional role of motherhood, of race, of mental health, and challenging stereotypes, being perceived in a certain way before you even step foot in
mm-hmm,
your midwife appointment or your GP appointment. We have general practitioner here in the UK, which is basically a doctor. Um,
mm-hmm,
and so just making sure that we open up the dialogue. And I think I touch on, you know, the practitioner not saying my name right. And I know it's a really tiny thing,
mm,
it's really little, and everyone has, different types of surnames that might be difficult to pronounce, but just a tiny micro or minute um
yes.
aspects of how of the wider issue of not feeling heard, seen,
Mm-hmm,
believed,
mm-hmm,
even just taking the time to really getting to know that mother so that she can open up to you. And I remember when I gave birth with my first daughter and I had my room and my house was spotless. And in the UK we have midwives or sorry, health visitors that come to your house after you give birth. So just to check up
Mm,
on. And I remember feeling just broken inside and wishing that she
mm,
could see me, but she didn't ask about me. She asked about the baby. And of
mm,
course, baby was thriving and doing well, but I wasn't. And
mm,
I felt, ignored and invisible. And so
mm.
just making sure, just I think in the book, we just really like hone in that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to speak about your challenges and issues. And
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in London, British, but my family, my mother is Nigerian heritage, and just like also adding in the layer of actually those from different cultures. So if you're
Yes.
out of the Caribbean or you're from Africa or even even America,
Yep.
just family backgrounds of being told that actually you're blessed. Having a
Yeah.
child is a blessing. Don't complain. Don't be upset. You don't have no issues. We had it worse than you. We had it way harder
Ugh.
than we
Preach,
had.
sister. Preach.
What are you
Ugh.
complaining about and all of that stuff, but really everybody, should be allowed or have the freedom to
Hmm.
feel like how they're feeling, to express
Yeah.
how they're feeling, to feel
Yep.
vulnerable,
Yep.
especially when you've gone through one of the hardest things you could possibly do, giving birth and motherhood. So the book really advocates for change, and the book
Yeah.
really pushes the urgent need to address, inequalities, qualities and biases in mental health support for Black mothers, but it also demands better care and understanding for the unique challenges that
Yep.
we experience and face.
Ugh. Like I said, I listen, y'all can't see my face because we're just doing audio, but I'm telling you, I'm all over the place because everything that you're talking about, Sandra, is so on point. And like I said, this book really resonated with me. I can't wait to read the pieces and do reflections with everybody next week. We've got tons of presenters coming next week that are going to be leading up to our conference where you're going to be able to hear Sandra in session one. It is absolutely phenomenal. Not only are you going to get a dose of Black maternal health, but so much more. So tell us a little bit what you're going to be talking about at the conference, and what you hope our participants really get from it.
Yeah, so in the conference, we'll be looking at my book, reading excerpts from it and looking at the common themes,
Awesome.
expectation versus reality, the contrast between the joyful, blessed expectations of motherhood and then the difficult realities that many mothers face, such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. As
Mhm.
I mentioned, cultural expectation, racism. I know racism in America looks very different to the racism in the UK, but it's still racism. And I know in the UK,
Absolutely.
racism is very covert, so it's not in your face. People don't say the N word. No one says it, not even really Black people.
Hmm.
Um, um, you
Hmm.
know, things look very multicultural. We are all in the same spaces. However, it's the subtleness and the really insidious sort of under the carpet um,
Mm.
racism that's really dangerous because you can't even call it out. You can't even say, hey, that
Yeah.
woman or that man's racist because there's no concrete quote unquote evidence. But in America, I know it's
Wow.
a lot more in your face and it's a lot more clearer the way the racism
Yeah.
looks. And so
Yeah.
the role that racism and stigma plays on mothers' mental health as a additional layer, but also the lack of trust that women, mothers, birthing people have in the healthcare system, which prevents us from seeking or
Yep.
receiving the help that we need, that everybody should be entitled to. And then obviously I mentioned breaking the silence and looking at ways to advocate for change. And so even if we start off with ourselves, us speaking out, us speaking up, sharing
Hmm.
our stories and looking to see how we can normalize the conversation around
Yeah.
maternal mental health.
Yep. Oh, this is so good. I'm so excited about this conference, and we want to thank you again for being one of our
Well,
keynote speakers for this conference. We are just so pumped to have you here. to talk about all of the things and to find real solutions and to dive in unapologetically, y'all, because that's what we have to do. So if people want to follow you, they want to find you, where can they go?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, X/Twitter, and LinkedIn. I've just started really using TikTok, even though everyone's on there. It's a bit of a wild place, that
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yes.
But it's Sandy Igwe, Sandy with two E's. So SAND and then Igwe, IGWE. And then my organization is the motherhoodgroup.org. And then you can find my book in most places. So My Black Motherhood, Mental Health, Racism, Stigma, and the System. So
Oof,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you. And don't worry if you're driving and you're listening to this, we will drop the all of the information down below so that you can dive right in. Sandra, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us, for partnering with us all the way
Oh,
across the world, y'all. Look, she's on a different time zone. She is here.
yeah.
She is girl. She's turned up. So thank you so much for being here and
Thank you.
participating in this and really helping us crush the crisis all over the country, all over the world and doing it together in sisterhood. Until next
Yes.
time, y'all, I will see you soon. We will be dropping links like crazy. So please keep your eye out and remember to share it with someone that you love because it's nothing like getting something that feeds your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. Until next time, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.